Hello, I am Anderson Cooper, one of the head interviewers of one of the first radio talk shows around. Today I will be talking with a Civil War veteran about his Civil War life. What was living like? What did he eat? What was battle like for him? That's all today on 5 Minute Radio. Today I am with Private Harold Shaw, who fought on the Union side. Hello there, Mr. Shaw.
Good day to you, sir. I will enjoy this radio station talking about butternut scum.
So first, let's talk about your family.
At the beginning of the war, I had a wife, 3 kids, and my father was still alive. But unfortunately, before the war, my mother had passed.
I see. And let me ask you, with a family like this, why would you risk giving it all up just to go fight in a war?
Because I couldn't let the rebel scum tear my family apart.
So the war begins. What were the living conditions like for you and your fellow soldiers?
I was stationed in Pennsylvania at the very beginning of the war, and the barracks were actually quite roomy and comfortable.
The war started off in favor of the Confederates, so our living spaces went from roomy barracks to very uncomfortable and not so roomy tents.
As the war went south, the food became more scarce. Our meals started to become of rice, beans, and a little bit of bacon, and other various smaller foods. Some men even starved to death because they didn't get enough food. Scurvy was a very common disease because men in the Civil War didn't get fruits or vegetables.
So, it seemed like things were taking a turn for the worse. What did you and your fellow soldiers do for clothing?
Only upper-class soldiers such as generals got tailor-made uniforms. Lower-class soldiers like me had to make their own uniforms according to government regulations. We couldn't fight in the war until our uniforms were made correctly.
Interesting. And, as I understand it, while you were in your campsites, you did do drills with your other soldiers, didn't you?
Darn tootin' we did. Very tiring drills indeed. We did drills like marching in a straight line and interacting with our fellow soldiers. Even artillerymen like myself, we practiced positioning cannons and getting to the right places.
And what were some disciplinary actions that generals and leaders used for people who do not participate or follow the rules during these drills?
Some punishments involved being tied by our thumbs to a tree, and others were doing guard duty around the camp with a log instead of a rifle. One punishment was when you had to sit on a wooden rail high enough so that your feet couldn't touch the ground for hours. It was very painful. The rest of us would take the advantage of this opportunity by throwing rocks at them. I've only heard of one man who was executed because of his actions.
Well, let's talk about your battle experience. Which battle do you remember the most, and why?
The siege of Petersburg was the one I remember the most because of the gigantic hole that we blew in the ground when the men were supposed to go around because the Confederates' defense line was weakened because they didn't have enough men, but our soldiers went right into the hole and then just got captured. The siege of Petersburg lasted 10 months. Men like me helped with the defenses by digging trenches and building walls of dirtbags.
Wow, that's actually pretty interesting. But what about this battle sticks out to you as a person, not just to you as a soldier? Why do you remember this battle the most?
In the 7th month of battle, a man got wounded in front of my cannon. I went to go assist him, and that's when my arm got shot. I still pulled through though and got both of us to medical help. The doctors back then were minimally trained. And unfortunately, the only way to save my arm and his leg from getting infected was to amputate it. I was sent back home to my family because my arm had been amputated and I could no longer fight.
Looking back, what would you have changed about that day?
No matter what, I would not let that man die. And when I got back home, I heard these new inventions called machine guns, and it would have been nice to have one.
Well, I suppose it would have been very nice if you had had some of that, wouldn't it? Well, thank you so much for interviewing with us. Well, there you have it, folks. Today is April 18th, 1890, and is also the 25th anniversary of the end of the Civil War. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, now that it is the 50th anniversary to the end of the Civil War, how do you feel? Do you have any last feelings or negativities about it?
All I can say is that I'm very thankful for the man who saved my life and lost his own arm in the process.